Back well, after the violence of the last week and then the looting, the economic damage that was caused by COVID-19, more calls for a basic income grant. On Sunday, President Cyril Ramaphosa appeared to say it was a good idea. It would demonstrate that society cares for people who have no money and no income. Busi, Sibeko is a researcher at the Institute for Economic Justice. Siyabulela is an activist in the Unemployed Assembly, or the Assembly of the Unemployed, rather. Good afternoon to you both, and thank you for your time. Busi, if I may just start with you. This is a debate that has been going on in South Africa for longer than I can remember. 20 years ago, the Democratic Alliance supported a basic income grant. The problem really has been within the ANC. Do you think this debate is changing now?
Absolutely. I mean, I think in the large scale of a humanitarian crisis, you tend to go back to the ideas that you've always had and never maybe had the political will to implement. But now more than ever, the calls are louder, and it is clear that this is a much-needed intervention in our society in this current day.
It's one thing to say the calls are louder politically. Has the economic case for it changed?
I mean, the economic case for it, we've made the argument for a very long time. I think the economic case for it has actually strengthened. I mean, we've seen that unemployment is at the highest level it's ever been at since the QLFS was actually implemented. We're seeing that poverty has increased significantly, the number of unemployed youth, the number of unemployed black women in this country. And so the economic argument for it is actually stronger now. And I mean, in this economy where we've got, people losing jobs, businesses going under and so forth, we need the demand. We need people to have money to spend in this economy as well, but also we need to respect the rights to dignity of South Africans.
Siyabulela, I mean, for people who have no income, any income, no matter where it comes from, is an important thing. I presume you support this. Do you have an idea at what level it should be set?
Given that there are over 10 million each week, people will go to bed hungry. And for us, I think this should be in a level where it meets the conditions of living of people. People must be able to buy groceries. 350 is not enough. So this is a debate that we're continuing to have, and this is a conversation that we continue to have within the Assembly of the Unemployed. But we're saying that 1,500 would be helpful. People would be able to buy groceries with 1,500. So that's what we're hoping for.
Busi, the 350 Rand a month that Siyabulela referred to, do we know what impact that had? Did that save people from starvation, perhaps? What I'm saying is this is a useful point of data, of research, to sort of find out where the numbers should be. I know that you will probably have a firm view of where it should be, but I imagine the 350 Rand at least allows us an assessment of what impact that had, and we can start making an educated guess on what it should be.
I mean, the Newzroom data has given us some, anecdotal evidence on the impact of the 350 Rand, but I certainly think that a larger scale assessment needs to be undertaken. And so what we've recommended is that it needs to be extended and increased to at least the food poverty line, rather the food basket line, right? So 585 Rand for the next 3 months, and include a caregiver grant, because women were previously excluded, mainly women, caregivers were previously excluded from the SRG itself. And we've made the argument that in the medium term it should go up to the upper bound poverty line of 1,268. But of course, these numbers are negotiable, and in fact, across civil society, there's been debates around, at what level do you put it. But we've put forward these recommendations and also costed them and also shown where the money can come from.
Siyabulela, I mean, obviously, I would imagine that any money is better than no money. I mean, even if it's a low amount.
Given that, I mean, the food prices are rising. Electricity is high. And, there's this austerity that our government is employing, and we've been warning about this, the budget cuts. So, and these, we've been saying, will lead to joblessness. Now, what we need is a decent basic income grant. Take, for example, if you convert to that 350 a day, I think it's about 11 rands, and that can't even meet the loaf of bread. That can't even buy a loaf of bread. So what we're talking about here, and we've been talking about for more than 10 years, is a decent basic income grant that will meet the needs of the people. And we're seeing that the South African government now is starting to talk about this basic income grant. But the people who've been campaigning for it, the unemployed people, they've not been consulted. All you see is technocrats, all you see is NGOs, but the voices of the unemployed people are not being heard. They're actually excluded. So we're saying if we are to get a basic income grant, it must at least be able to meet. People must be able to buy groceries. So yeah, that's what we're saying.
There is an argument that some people have made, and people, I mean, as I say, people have been debating this for years. But Siyabulela, I mean, some people will say that if you give people money for nothing, they won't go out and work, they won't go and study. I don't know if there's much evidence of that, but I do want to give you a chance to respond to that argument.
Yeah, look, let's take, for example, there's youth in South Africa. I mean, over 70%, 73 now, I think, is unemployed. And these are skilled people. You've seen now during the time of COVID-19, over 3.3 workers, 2.2 million workers have lost their jobs. And these are highly skilled workers. It's not their choice that they're unemployed. It's the conditions of the economy that have made people unemployed. So the argument that basic income grant will make people lazy, people won't want to look for, people want to look for work. But for now, for people to meet their basic needs, we need a basic income grant. But that's not enough. A basic income grant should be met with service delivery. Government should stop austerity. They should stop budget cuts. They should create employment. And that's the argument we're making. And what we're actually saying is that if you tax the 1% rich people, if you introduce a wealth tax, and there's been reports around this that about 160 billion a year could be raised from this. And this is the money that could be used to build roads, to build transport, to reintroduce reindustrialization. And that's the argument that we're making, that until such a time our government is willing to see this. And by the way, introducing a basic income grant, it means economic activity. And it means a good thing for the economy. The economy will boost. So those are the points that we're actually making, that a basic income grant should be met with basic services, with service delivery. And then employment will be created. You'll see people will look for jobs.
Siyabulela Mama, an activist with the Assembly of the Unemployed. Busi, Sibeko, researcher at the Institute of Economic Justice, thank you very much. And I feel we've just scratched the surface of this discussion, actually. There's so much more to discuss with the idea of a basic income grant. There are some arguments against it and very, very strong arguments for it. Let me sum it up in that way. In a moment, business news. Also, the daily briefing from the presidency on developments since the violence and looting in KwaZulu-Natal and parts of Gauteng. We do expect that to start in a